Hello, subject matter listeners. We wanted to bring you a new episode this week, but unfortunately, whenever we shot it, something got messed up, and the footage that we shot for it got corrupted. We're still not entirely sure what happened, though we do blame Apple because it was, in fact, the Apple phone that had the issue. So, we still wanted to release the episode. We also wanted to release we recorded a second episode too that had the exact same issue. So, this week and next week's episode will be audio only. But we still wanted to get these out to you guys because we know it's been a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and just go with it, just roll with it, as pretty much everything else we do here on the podcast. So let's get into the intro. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Subject Matter. I'm your host, Stephen Jenkins, here with your co-host, Mr. Jonathan Dayton. We are experts in nothing, here to give you our thoughts and opinions on all of it. So, how about that airline food?
Airline food?
Airline food. And by the airline food, I mean the food that's not being served on airlines because they're all shut down. Or at least United.
So the last time I went on the airplane, we flew on an economy flight that did not have said food. You could purchase it. So like I'm always used to getting the Continental, like here's your nuts and a drink. We didn't get any of that. But I can understand some people's frustrations of not getting food on airlines.
Well, clearly misunderstood the segue I was trying. I'm talking about specifically how flights have been shut down.
I know where he was going with this.
Oh, so he's taking this literally.
I'm taking it literally, but I know where you're going with it because flights are getting canceled all over the place because of, well, numerous supposed reasons.
True. Taking what you said seriously, the best airline food I've ever had. Don't remember where I was. I know I was flying to. I was flying to London, I believe. Or maybe it was Israel. I forget. But it was like this curry. It was just like chicken curry or something like that. It was fantastic.
It's a full meal.
It was a full meal, but I mean, to be fair, it was like a 10-hour flight, so we definitely needed a full meal.
I never got a full meal on a flight before. I don't think I flew that far.
That was back before flights were being canceled. And here's what I don't understand. What I've heard is that these pilots who are on like unpaid leave or whatever can't do service for other airlines that would let them.
Yeah, they have a non-competitive clause. So basically, what that means is when you work for a company and that you provide a service, you sign a contract saying that you're not going to use your services for another competing airline.
Can't you just like at that point quit that job and go to another airline then?
Probably not if you're involved in a contract. Usually, well, I don't know if that unions are not in the airline service. Maybe they do. But anyways, some jobs require you to sign contracts, so they may be under like a 2 or 3 year contract to fly with that particular airline. If they breach that contract, there's probably some type of financial penalty.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
So I guess they could theoretically. I mean, not most contracts. There's some way of getting out of them, but there's usually a penalty if you to leave them early. So would you take a $20,000 hit to go work somewhere else? Maybe. I'm just hypothetically speaking here.
That's why you hear about those flights that are now like $100 a ticket or something like that.
Well, yeah, flights during the pandemic and even after the pandemic, I think have been relatively cheap. Not on the same topic, but still on the same topic of flights. I was watching some videos the other day, and there was like, if they cancel your flight, X, Y, Z reasons, in the very, very, very fine print, they have to provide you like a certain amount of money because they canceled your flight, a hotel in some instances, and some other things like that. So it's not necessarily always a bad thing if you were able to get what they failed to provide you, but also at the same time you missed your flight and you're supposed to be somewhere. So
well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I understand just like for a random person, one of our friends actually is flying out to go back home because he's visiting us, and he's wondering if his flight will be canceled. I guess like in the next 2 days or whatnot, might be postponed, which will ruin his week. But I'm also thinking like there was that story about the one doctor or something, or a patient who couldn't, like they're just stuck and they need like emergency surgery or something like that. Did you hear about that?
I have not heard about that story, but I'm sure there's definitely
I don't remember the details. I wish I would have brought it in. I assume being you in the medical field, you would have heard something about it, but
I've not heard that. Ironically enough, I don't listen or watch a lot of news. I catch the headlines, so if it wasn't
catch the headlines.
wasn't the headline, then I probably didn't see it.
Catch the headlines, make an opinion on a headline. We know how it goes. But yeah, it's just I'm to the point now, personally. Take a pick on which side you are politically, but I'm to the point now where it's been almost 2 years since this whole thing started, and it's kind of like, can we stop now? Can this be over? Can this be over? Like, whatever has to happen, just let it stop.
You would think that's how the world would work. Unfortunately, it's not how we've made it or into. I wish the world could just have. If we had to have one just giant, terrible, bad day, have it, get over it, and move on with our lives, and just kick it to the curb. Unfortunately, that's not what we've done.
If I'm leaning, so if you have the two opposing sides, there's this is a huge deal. We need to crack down on this, and on the other side, it's like it's over. It's nothing. Just go back to normal. And I'm somewhat in the middle, though. I am leaning to this is a little extreme now. What was it? 14 days to flatten the curve, and now we're
at 5 days quarantine.
Yep.
Instead of 10, especially if you're a healthcare worker. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Now, again, we are not experts. I'm not an expert in that field. I'm not going to get into it too much, but it baffles me the things that these government individuals come up with, and they think that it's a good decision when 3 months ago it was something completely different.
Yeah, I agree. Well, when the guy who's been in charge of this whole thing wrote a book during the pandemic.
Multiple people wrote books in the pandemic. I think people also tried to attempt to get rich during the pandemic, and that's not the place to do it. If you don't get rich during the pandemic, just do your job. That's all that I ask of you.
Speaking of jobs.
Speaking of jobs,
have you seen any business that doesn't have a
absolutely
work
not.
sign outside?
Absolutely not. Every business has a work sign, especially in our area, but across the country. It's not just here. I don't know. I think I counted like 7 or 8 just in like a 2-minute drive the other day of signs that says we are hiring, which is very, very, very sad. People just don't want to work. Now, we can get into the government benefit thing, but not too much. But, there was additional benefits during COVID, right? So it made sense. Logically, it made sense that people didn't want to work. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but it just made sense that they didn't want to work because they had extra money. Now, benefits have not ceased, but you just think you want to work. Like, I couldn't sit in the house all day long and not work or do something. That would drive me nuts. But for most of the people in the area and across the country, they just feel like sitting at home doing nothing is the way of life. And I don't understand how you could think like that.
I can understand not wanting to work, but I can't understand wanting to sit home and do nothing. I want to go out and do something to fill my time or figure something else out. And for the record, I am still working. Which actually, can I go on a rant for a second?
Sure.
Okay, so I have jury duty coming up. I got selected for jury duty. Okay, which I've kind of wanted to be on jury duty until now.
It's your civic duty. I feel it.
Which I'm fine with doing jury. That's totally cool. I like the intricacies and seeing how it's all done. Here's my problem: the fact that I'm basically going to be doing this for a month. So of course, if I get actually selected to be on the jury, but let's just assume that I do. I'm going to be doing this for an entire month. At which point you get paid what, $15 a day, right? Significantly less than what I'm getting paid for at my job because it's $15 a day. So, why couldn't this have happened like when I wasn't working? When it was like last summer or not last summer because I still would have been working, but like when I was in college or something, get me out of some classes maybe. I'm wondering why that couldn't have happened then, and why you couldn't have selected the people who aren't working right now to fill their time, give them something to do. My particular job that I'm working at is we're not understaffed, but there's not many people in the company because it's a small operation. But when one person's gone, it makes it really difficult. So that's my rant. Like, why can't you just get somebody else?
So I have a question in the point. One, if I was someone that was being on trial or going through the court system, I would want somebody like you that has a more common, educated mind listening to my case. versus someone, not speculating here, but someone that's not working, who at that point probably doesn't care to be there. Not saying that you don't care to be there either. That's
And
just,
for the record, when we say that, if you're actually actively looking for a job and you can't find it, that's not what we're talking about. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about I'm able to work, but I don't want to. That's what we're. That's it. We're gonna get just berated for this, but continue.
That's okay. And the other thing would be does your job pay for your lost income for going to jury duty?
They cannot financially do that. No, because
well, that's the difference. So a small company like that can, and that's no fault of their own. I understand that. So my place of employment, which I'm not going to name on the podcast, has a jury duty policy because jury duty is a civic duty. You can be selected, and it's a legal thing, that obligation for you have to do. So if you make the $15 at jury duty a day, you get your salary back paid to you regardless. Or if you don't take the salary at the jury duty, you get your full salary regardless. So for my employees, because I had one that was on jury duty, he was only selected like once to go to jury duty, and when he got there, he waited all day long, and they didn't even need him. So every other time that he's supposed to go, which was like Tuesday, Thursdays, every single week, they canceled it on him, and he didn't have to go, which was nice for him because he didn't want to go. But also, if he were to go for his 3-month period that he was on, or could be called in, he got paid regardless.
Okay.
So unfortunately for you, being in a small company like that, which I understand the financials.
Right. Yeah, you can't.
But for us, because it's a legal obligation, he was paid regardless.
Sure. Well, I mean that makes sense. Still, I think $15 a day could be raised a little bit for
probably could be
doing the civic. I mean, hey, free meal, but there's the concept that in something like this, like a pandemic or even something like a war, where though it's terrible, new technologies and advancements, even like in the medical field, are brought from it.
Tech's awesome. I'll tell you, I had the same conversation the other day at work, and just the technology that's come about and the way of living, some things of the pandemic that's been brought into today's world is not bad. For example, this isn't a technology thing, but using technology like computers and laptops and internet to work from home has been fantastic.
I was going to say the same thing.
Because I have employees that let work from home. I have employees that don't let work from home. I have a variety of employees. However, it's nice to, if you have childcare needs and you want that flexibility, or you don't want to eliminate your travel so it saves you on gas money, as long as you're getting that work done in a fashion and you're still communicating with all your people of your team and your boss and things are flowing, it's very nice. For me, I don't have the luxury to work there every day, but if I need to work from home, I can. And it's nice because I don't have to travel my 2-hour round trip to get to work. So that things like that have been something that would have been never thought about nearly as much in 2019 is now, it's like almost every job has some sort of telework policy where you, not full-time, but you can.
And it almost makes you think, like, why weren't we doing that before?
You think.
Like, I mean, I guess I kind of understand just because you go to work, that's what you do. But, you know, at the same time, it's like now we're here.
Cuts down on commute.
It cuts down on
traffic.
A lot of things. And it makes it a lot easier, and you're just more comfortable. I feel like you're almost more productive whenever you're working. At least when I was doing school from home instead of having to go to class, because I never actually got to work from home, but doing, you know, college classes and then, you know, that type of thing, that was far more productive for me than actually going and sitting in class and falling asleep, you know, because I was so tired to have to get up.
Yeah, I'm both ways. Like, I could do a full-time position fully remote. I think that it would be hard for me to stay focused at times. I like going to the office at least once or twice a week because, I don't know, I feel more productive when I'm like sitting in my office space. Yeah. But I also could be just as productive if I put my mind to it at home too.
I can see feeling more productive sitting in the office space. For me, I was not more productive when I went to class.
I don't know. I just felt that class is different than work, but I felt like I had to be doing something when I'm at work. I just can't sit there at my desk and just sit there. I have to be doing something to get some type of work done. When I'm at home, I think home is the distraction of some sort sometimes.
Fair enough.
Like,
Fair enough.
Oh man, I got this to do. Oh, I can get a snack. Oh, the refrigerator's right there.
Wait a minute. That's why.
Wait a minute. TV's in there. The show I might want to watch. Like that, things are sometimes a distraction.
When you get to sit there with a bowl of chips and watch a lecture that you don't really care about, that's pretty.
Yeah, that's pretty. So school's different.
School is different.
Work in some aspects, but you know, just the concept of working home that came out of the pandemic is good. I think just hygiene in general, like washing your hands, hand sanitizer. I mean, as a nation, we did that, but we didn't probably do that well. Now we do it at a very large scale, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So I think cleaning measures are good. I'm not going to get into regulations and things like that, but like that stuff I think is good.
That what still baffles me. I don't completely understand. Like, I just always thought, washing your hands
Is a general
was
concept.
just a general concept. I don't why in the world would you go, and I've seen this a million times, even just like last week. You go into the bathroom, you do what you need to do, and then you walk out. No washing hands, no drying them off, no, like...
Drying them off?
Well, probably wouldn't need to dry them off unless you would wash your hands. But
yeah, I hope not.
But you get my point. Why would... And then you go out, you shake somebody's hand. Like, just, that's disgusting.
It's
Why?
very disgusting.
I don't even think I'm being, like, I don't know what the word is here. I don't think I'm being, like, overreactive here. Just to say, wash your hands after you've done your stuff. I think it's the same thing with other things. That's something we can talk about, is just the little things that people say, oh, it's not that big of a deal, but are much bigger of a deal. So for me,
yes. Give me an example.
For me, I understand this is something that I've run into. Traffic lately has just, I don't know, people can't drive anymore. Maybe that's just me with road rage. I don't know.
Yeah, people can't drive.
Here's the thing. I understand. You're coming up on a yellow light. Or we'll say you're coming up on a green light. Light turns yellow. If you can make it, go ahead. Perfectly within your rights to do so. You don't have to slow down just because the light's yellow. In fact, if you're the car in front of me and it turns yellow and you slam on your brakes to make the yellow light you clearly could have made, that's still stupid. Mm-hmm. However, if I'm at the red light and my light turns green and you're still creeping along on the intersection to get to the other side of the road, you should have stopped for the yellow light. You should have slowed down. That's that type of thing. Because that'll cause more accidents than just slowing down.
Small things that are pet peeves. I have a lot of pet peeves. Ironically enough, I really can't think of one that I want to pinpoint, but...
Turn signals. Staying in your lane.
Staying in your lane.
Go on for traffic.
Turn signals, just going the regular adaptive speed. I mean, all that's crazy. Familiarity with an area, I also understand. But I drove with someone the other day. I didn't drive with someone. I followed someone home literally yesterday who was not from the area. I know they were visiting the lake. That's okay because a lot of people do visit the lake. When you drive like 28 miles per hour to 50,
Ugh.
and then you go 65, and then you go 34, then 47, that personally drives me nuts. I mean, at least get the speed limit 50, and then you can, or actually it's 55, and just like go one constant speed. You don't gotta speed up, you don't gotta slow down, just one constant speed is okay.
Go ahead.
But that just drives me nuts because I'm constantly braking and stopping and braking and stopping.
I'm totally cool if you want to go at the speed limit or below the speed limit. Understand that if you have a lot of 10 cars behind you, it might be polite to pull over. Just saying. Yes. I have a family member who does that. They don't like to drive fast. They understand that they're holding people up, so they will pull over and they will let people pass them. That's polite, and I completely and 100% respect that. Another thing, if it's dark out, turn your lights on. Just turn your lights on.
I agree.
I have had, through the past week, okay, we're thinking of somebody, you and I are both thinking of somebody specific.
Yep.
That's not what I actually even brought that up for. Literally in the past week, I have seen 3 people. The sun is below the mountain line, okay, so there's virtually no light anywhere, and there's people driving without their headlights on. Not talking about anybody specific, even though we're both thinking of somebody specific, but turn your headlights on.
Yep.
You're gonna cause an accident. Some of these aren't even pet peeves. It's just, the law.
Driving in bad weather. When it's icy outside, do not drive in bad weather. It's common sense. I get and I understand wholeheartedly that you need to get places that you need to go. But if the road is a solid sheet of ice, I'm talking like you get out of your car, you're going to fall over because it's solid. That does not mean you can drive on it. And if you have to go somewhere, that does not mean you need to drive the speed limit either. In that instance, I would not want you to drive the speed limit.
I'm also going to go vice versa on that. A flurry will not wreck your car. A flurry is not going to make you crash. If it is snowing, you don't have to drive like your grandma, okay? That's the converse of the argument that you just made. I've seen it the opposite way, too.
I agree both ways. I mean, I understand caution. I will always err and tell people to err on the side of caution because that's the business that I work in and what I do and what I should advocate for. But again, there's proper ways of driving. I mean, there's too much caution
Uh-huh.
in a lot of different instances, and there's also not enough caution in a lot of different instances. And I think that, I don't know, I've seen both sides of it, and it just goes back to the driving thing, not knowing how to drive. Which is funny that Maryland requires you to take driver's ed, which I'm a proponent of because I think that everyone should at least learn how to drive in some type of school.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean to be months, just I don't know how long it was, like a couple nights a week. Went out and driving. I think three times I went out to have to drive with an instructor. You got a score. You had to pass that score to get your yada yada yada. But there's states that don't have required driver's ed, which means your insurance rates usually go up, but also who taught you to drive? Your parents who also didn't attend driver's ed. Not saying they're bad drivers, but someone that's licensed to teach you how to drive should be teaching you how to drive.
Considering the fact that we live in a tri-state area,
Yeah.
This is going to tick some people off what I say next.
I'm ready.
If I see a bad driver on the road, 90% of the time I can look at their license plate and already know what it's going to be before I see it.
You're probably going to disagree with what state I would say. Maybe you're the same state we're thinking of, but I always go to Pennsylvania first.
Really? For me, it's West Virginia.
Always
And
Pennsylvania.
we have West Virginia listeners, so that's going to take
Yeah.
some of them off.
Always Pennsylvania. Always Pennsylvania first.
But for me, it's always been West Virginia.
And then if they're not, like, we have a big touristy area. I won't say huge because there's big cities that have major tourist attractions. We do not, by any means, have those tourist attractions. But we do have some historic places that people like to come from to tour on the East Coast. And the lake, of course, brings in people from all over the country to go at the lake because this is a big attraction. So I also jump to conclusions too and say, like, Virginia, I've seen California before, I've seen like New York tags before, so those places, of course, your unfamiliarity with the area, so I can assume, there's gonna be some struggles there too, because I would have the same struggles if I went to your state.
I saw an Alaskan license plate one time, and I was like, I don't know how they got here, but I guess you can drive through Canada, but
Yes, you can.
I would just fly.
Yeah, and not to scrutinize anyone, because again, I'm not an excellent driver. I will disclaim that there now.
Same.
However, there's those pet peeves though that at least if we're going to be driving, I think we should all be average. If we're going to get a grade, if we're going to get a grade on the test, I think all drivers should be at 70%.
If you're turning left, you should use turning lane. If there's a turning lane, I think
Or turn signal.
Or turn signal. I mean, you would think that it wouldn't have happened twice in the past month for me, but it did. That somebody's turning left. There's a turning lane, the left lane, and the right lane, and they're in the left lane, which is the middle of those two lanes. Yep. And they're turning left, holding up traffic. Like, there's a lane that's meant for that. Just use it.
Tailgating cars, I'll let you do it. I mean, that's the reason why you have 3 to 5 seconds behind your car.
Trucks. I understand you like to go fast. But if I'm doing an 80 and a 70, you don't need to be riding my tail.
You daredevil. You lawbreaker, you Steven.
80 and a 70.
80 and 70.
And I have people riding my tail. Not that I've ever done 80 and a 70. Legally, I don't know if I can say that I've done 80 and a 70. But don't ride my tail if I'm doing that for some reason. This is what happens when we don't have a guest on to kind of keep us on track. But I feel like that was some probably a couple little interesting opinions.
I think people can relate to this.
At the very least, this can be a venting session for everybody.
Yeah, it was a relatable. But I think things are relatable. I think for the most of our viewers, I think this is a relatable topic or topics that they can get on with.
If you have any pet peeves, put it down in the comment section.
Below.
If you have any reason why you think we're completely wrong about Pennsylvania and West Virginia drivers, put it down in the comments below. If you agree with one of us, put it down in the comments below if you think it's Pennsylvania or West Virginia.
The poll.
Put a poll. We could do a poll on our Instagram. And if you have any other opinions on any things we've talked about today, let us know down in the comment section. One final pet peeve that I have right now. This is native only to me and it will have no bearing on anything whatsoever. This
Okay.
is my current pet peeve. Sheets, for whatever reason, is no longer carrying Reese's sticks. They have them at Walmart. They have them at Circle K. You probably don't even know what I'm talking about, but they're like little sticks, and it's the Reese's peanut butter chocolate sticks. This is my pet peeve because it's my favorite snack. They don't have them anymore, and I don't understand why.
They weren't selling enough. It was a strategic business move.
I think they probably were selling
Why'd
them.
they get rid of them?
I don't know. Maybe you're right, but I guarantee you I wasn't the only one buying them because I would go
Probably
in, I
not.
would buy them. I'd buy a single pack,
They have those like
and
random
I would
hot
go
pickles
back
there
in
no
like the
one
next
buys.
day, and they would all be gone. So it's not possible.
Maybe they just ran out. Supply and demand. Supply was,
Reese is not a sponsor.
but
they
could
could
be.
be. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to
Subscribe, like, comment. Check out the new socials. We've been saying for a while TikTok is where we
I was gonna say sponsor us, but yeah,
sponsor.
you like
But
comment,
we've been
subscribe.
saying for a while too. TikTok we want to get up and running too, just for some shorts. So we will begin that at some point. I will work on that. But follow us on all the other social medias in the meantime.
I don't have an outro
Me neither.
because usually I just say bye.
See ya.